What's up, and welcome to the American God Show. We're talking episode 6, Conscience of the King. It was capitalized, the King. So I was like, hey, we will discuss. I'm Kari Lane, joined by my awesome co-host over here. We got Flobo in the house.
I'll never get the right direction, but I'm just gonna do this. What up, Carrie? How's life and how is it living? Another week in American Gods fandom.
I was also thinking, I'm like, well, you're not really in the house. It's the digital house, because not in the right space, Yes. So episode 6, we're past the halfway point. How are you feeling with this episode?
Ooh, a lot of the things were coming at me fast. We got some conclusion to the Demeter storyline? Question mark. And a rocking intro. I mean, look at that, those guitar licks and opening sequence. So definitely kind of fun stuff. This season has definitely went to a different direction, which I think it was needed. But then my original gripe, the OG gripe of this war has to come soon, and I still believe in that. But I'm along for the ride now more than ever.
Yeah, this episode was definitely packed with a lot of stuff. I take notes when I watch for people watching us, and it's much more dense on this episode. Like, oh, that was interesting. Oh, that was really cool. And remember to happen. And some things I wasn't necessarily surprised, but I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, we'll dive in. What did you think of the beginning? We don't have necessarily a specific year. It's just, like early America. And of course, Tyr and Odin.
Well, I was actually confused for a second there. I know Ofnir is missing the eye, but I was like, wait, which one? And we'll talk about this a little later, but I felt like there was a different Tyr involved here, So I liked it. I love the visuals. I love the opening sequence all season, but definitely the rock and roll interpretation and the story and the fact that there's a link again with war and money, totally on point.
Yeah, I also was a little bit confused. I'm like, wait, which one's which? But it makes sense. They can take different forms over time. But I also at first was like, wait, which one's which? And I mean, yes, of course, Odin, it's a one eye not there. I know. But it was still like, getting your bearings at first.
Yeah.
And yes, as you just said, a nation in love with war and money. Sadly, still true. But it was a good point.
It's some would say it's a link, but it's kind of like, it's a always link. No one goes to war because they beat them in Scrabble, right? Like there's always a reason for it. Usually land or religious things or political things or economic things. And so, yeah, I'm sure war and money is always linked, as we can tell.
Yes. So then I loved that became kind of our story later with the shadow play. Also, the fact of Demeter, yes, Odin loved her at first sight, which was kind of cute. Of like, aw. What did you think of all that?
I'm like, does love at first sight really exist? I don't. So that's why I was being all cynical about it. I was like, does he really though? I mean, it's literally showing me falling in love with. I don't know. I have been told by so many other characters not to trust Wednesday that at first I didn't believe it was all about it, but as we got to the other scenes in there, you go, okay, yeah, maybe there was really some feelings there, but I don't know if that's good characterization or the great way that Ian McShane's plays the character, but I'm looking at it like, what's the catch, Odin? What's the catch?
I think he could honestly have been in love with her
eventually,
like truly, madly, deeply, and especially maybe right at first, but war is such a part of his core being that love will never be the primary objective for him. That won't be his main focus. And I think that's where we get revealed later, where he says, join me in war, and Demeter's like, there it is. So I'm like,
that game is weak, Carrie. If any guy's like, oh, I love you, but I gotta focus on my career, don't stay with him.
She doesn't, which we learned. So, yeah, I like him when he's writing out his masterpiece, when Wednesday's writing that out, which I'm glad how that tied in. Cause at first I was like, what is he writing? And on giant sheets of paper.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. He has to read it essentially in the dark later.
It's funny how he was writing in the scripts and he told the owner to take it up to his room. It's like, is he calling the shots? Does people know he's still... They're being awfully forgiving of this guy.
They're like, sure, whatever, dude.
Yeah, so weird.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I actually really enjoyed the pranks with Demeter and him too, of the drugs and knocking over the plants. And she's like, oh no, why'd you do that? I'm like,
Yeah, so
You know.
underhanded, but so fun.
but it's fun. And I mean, it's not like he's making it easy. So I like that she fought back a little bit with that. I thought it was also adorable, Hank and Elizabeth. And I mean, like, I know there are times where it's just like, oh, wait, somebody's flirting with me. What? But come on, watching them, I'm like, dude, she's totally into you.
Well, he has his own insecurities, you know how it is, and as a guy, I can tell you that there could be so many signals from an outside guy looking into one of my guy friends, and it's always the one insecurity the guy has about himself is the one he goes, "There's no way." So in this case, he's like, "Oh, I didn't go to fancy school, forget it," and that totally overrode every signal he was getting. Poor guy.
Yeah, and she was adorable, trying to be like, hi, yeah, and I'm like, oh. So I thought that was, yeah. I love Wednesday helping
So do you
in
ship
like
them?
Hank and Elizabeth. Yeah, I do it. I totally agree with Wednesday. Of like, you're a perfect match. You work in the same place, but you're in different departments. Like in a realistic sense, cool. They have the same job, so they understand the business, but they're in very different areas. So it's not like if there was problems later, it's not like you're exactly in the same space all the time with your fellow employee, because work relationships can be weird if they go bad, but they seem well suited for each other. And it is that thing of you can be world smart, but not necessarily as academically educated, but that doesn't matter if in the end, if you have something else to balance that out. So it's kind of sad that he has that like insecurity.
I didn't go to school. Come on.
Yeah, it's like, come on now. Then I like Wednesday helping in, and he'll be like, I'll be your Cyrano. And I like that Hank is, huh?
Yeah.
But
all right,
okay.
inmate, I'll totally, or patient, I will totally listen to you now.
So sure, no problem.
Nothing can go wrong.
Yeah. We get their shadow. Actually, yeah, we'll continue with Wednesday. We get the shadow play, which was really interesting. I like that Tyr showed up. I thought that was actually really kind of sweet of how much he loves her. Oh, what was that inhale?
I alluded to it early in this episode. Tyr showing up makes perfect sense. Masterstroke. If the story was true, I assume it was. There was no reason why it wouldn't be. Tyr showing up makes a lot of sense. I love the time and dialogue, but I feel in order to make this work, I got a different Tyr than we got at the beginning of the season. Now I'm not saying he is a two-faced, callous liar or anything, but this Tyr today seemed a lot less agreeable than the one that said, "Here's a check." Because now there was a line of dialogue saying, "Yeah, he's so charismatic. I just had to give him the money." So I was a little put off sorts there. But to answer your point and credit, I do think having Tyr there to really bring the third human element in there, or godlike element there, makes the most sense.
The other part of that relationship, I thought it was very grounded and realistic in the sense that they lost a child, because you're just like, wait, they're gods, but anything's possible.
True.
And because it's like, well, how did that?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But we have talked about how even if they're gods, it does seem like their human-esque form is still subject to some of human trials too.
That makes sense. It also understands why Demeter got so surprised seeing Shadow last week. We got that answer. Why she was like,
right?
"Oh,
it's like, oh, you had
son."
another child. Yes. But I understand too. Like, it's one of those. It just sucks, but it's sadly understandable. Wednesday couldn't handle that grief, but it shows his growth at least. Well, unless he's trying to show growth, that he's like, oh, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. I should have stayed with you. Because even after, when he goes to Demeter's room and he's just like, I couldn't handle that. It was a foe I had not battled before. You go, okay, but I don't know how genuine that is. Like, maybe he does recognize his fault, but how much do you believe him in the sense of, does he actually recognize his fault and is doing this without trying to get something? Or is he like, look, Demeter, I have changed?
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow because Ofnir, I also call him from now on, because everyone says it with such disdain. it's Ofnir. Like, it's never like, hey, what's up, Wolf? I can understand. He's this guy that's very ruled by his id. If he wants things, there's a whole list of characters that can't stand when he shows up because they know they want something, but she is a little different. But I do think what makes this different is that she's one of the few characters or few people in his life that he could actually have both. His love language is acts of service. So even though he may be using the money for this war, the fact having a woman by his side may be the difference. But I don't think he's approaching it completely kind-hearted. Like, forget the money. Let's just sit by the beach and sip mojitos, love. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I feel it's a mix of both. Like, he probably does recognize how he was at fault, but he has ulterior motives. And I like how Demeter has the moment of saying, I want and need to regain the world. And I feel she left on her own terms. I don't feel she's dead. Like, I don't think she died, but I feel she kind of transcended her plane of existence of how she was. Like, I don't think it was like she killed herself, because I did have a moment that I'm like, oh, please tell me she didn't like kill herself. But yeah. I mean, I don't know why that was. I was just concerned of like, oh wait, like I need to say goodbye to everybody. I didn't think she was going to go with him, but I liked her going, you know what, I need to leave, but not with you.
That would totally make me feel some kind of way if someone rather go into the ether than hang out with me. But I understand. She was in an unenviable position. She knew she couldn't stay. You know, she couldn't go with Odin because he didn't quite get it because they had a little spat in the greenhouse. I mean, I hope. Well, I won't say I hope. I have a feeling it may be like a Deus Machina type thing, where like maybe later on she may reappear for the dramatic moment of it. But it did seem surreal to watch her just go into the dust.
Return to nature. So I kind of was like, sure, she's back to like a more elemental form.
Yeah,
I guess.
She of the grain, giver of life.
Yes, exactly. We have the whole thing with Technical Boy and Mr. World was very. What did you think of our new Mr. World?
Machete World, Jenny Trejo.
Yeah,
it's like making what? Donuts and coffee. Like, okay, it's cool. I liked the Mr. World here. Because it was almost like an enforcer type of situation, because the classic Crispin Glover's Mr. World would be more of a cerebral kind, and I do think Ms. World would probably just would have killed. But I like the intimidation of this third world. Third.
Sure, it is.
Mr. World.
It's just one of those out of context. You'd be like, wait, what? But yeah.
You needed someone to act the part of, I care about you, but you do go out of bounds. I'm going to threaten you, but you're one of my favorites. And so Danny Trejo will be someone I can imagine someone in the writer's room being like, wouldn't it be cool if we got... Well, he said yes. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he was such an interesting addition to the cast, and I just had a knock at the door, but I think it's a delivery. I was expecting delivery. I think it was a fun addition and change, and I do really think it's cool that Mr. Ms. Person World keeps changing. Person World. Their form keeps changing. That I hope they keep doing this in the show, and it makes sense too, because the world is constantly evolving and changing and shifting. So it makes sense that the entity that represents that would shift per different needs and goals. So yeah, I was like, ooh, okay, where are we gonna go with this? Yeah, and I like that. Where was it? So when Technical Boy comes there and talks to him, and is just like, wait, what's going on? Also, what do you think Artifact 1 is?
I don't know. First of all, really? That's the name you're going to give it? Artifact 1?
I kind of wondered if that was like part of his like original form. Like maybe it was. So my theory is Technical Boy's becoming more human.
Okay.
Because he was having emotions.
Right.
He was not working the same way. And I feel maybe Artifact was something, if he was pure God ability, he would be, it's like, remove a chip or something from wherever, of him to analyze. But the way the old computer was talking to him and feelings and how it said emotions, I was like, oh, is this something where he's downgrading his God ability, and now in being human, he can understand people and have empathy or something like that. I mean, I don't know why Bilquis would do that, but it'd be an interesting way to screw him over.
Yeah, I was kind of in a similar boat. I thought that Artifact 1 is how you deputize new gods. Because these old gods have these stories that go on forever. But I wonder, like, how do you find a Miss New Media or Mr. New Media? Like, Miss New Media? How does that work? Like, is it someone deputized? Does it change form? Does it just appear? So I thought that would be like the secret of the ooze. If I'm taking some things from Teenage Ninja Turtles, but yeah, very similar. Like I feel like that is the crux to Technical Boy's existence. Which way it goes, I'm on board either way.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see where it's going, what the artifact means, because then we also get that bit with Mr. World on the phone call, and there is possibly an artifact downstairs at that basement place. And Mr. World seems to know a lot about what's going on outside of what's going on. So I want to know what that object is. And, I think that's the object, or that's the artifact, because it's like, right. I'm keeping from him. So it's like,
Who's on the phone? Who's on the phone?
I know. That's a good question. Because Mr. World seems to be the leader of new gods, and so I wouldn't expect them talking to an old god unless an old god was like helping them, so it's like unclear.
Yeah, it is unclear. Chernobog? No,
yes. Well, then we get the characters. We'll follow Laura, and then we'll go into Shadow. We'll do Laura and Salim, then we'll come back to Laura and Shadow. But yeah, Laura and Salim, I liked that the commercial was talking to Salim, but I'm like, who is that though, of who's talking to him? Yeah. And it's unfortunate he didn't get to answer it. And I don't really get that Laura's so dismissive of weird things happening. She just keeps thinking it's so regular world. I'm like, girl, you've seen enough to know weird stuff is going on.
Yeah. But, Laura has a habit of looking at her first. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, I do think she notices, because she makes a crack later on, right? I think she knows it's possible, but it's really more of like, that's great, Salim. I need you to focus for my thing. But yeah, of all the things the commercials have come through, like, why was it a physical party line? I felt like, if anything, Salim would be in love with the Jinn. But the commercial was like, guys hooking up. Right? So speaking to him, I know we have that void of like human touch or whatever, but I do think it was interesting that was the one that picked out for them. But yeah, Laura seems to be in her own thing. She's just like, I need someone to help me on this quest. Focus on me. Let's get it done.
Because also what God would care about Salim, that's also somehow technology, commercial, media God. Like, why would they care about Salim to reach out? That's where it's more just like, who is it and why are they reaching out to him?
Yeah.
I do love that Laura, which she should tell herself, she's constantly telling him to move on. And I'm like, maybe you should say that in a mirror, Laura.
Ooh, snap.
Because it's like, girl, oh my goodness, like, you need to move on. And she does not.
She's carrying a box of her lover and you're telling her to move on. How dare you?
Though, did you notice when the people were having sex on the other side and the wall was banging, she picked up the box and like moved it all gently and carefully?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay.
Dead wife.
Yeah. And then when they see Mr. World at the end and he says, we have a common enemy, it's like, oh shit. Okay.
So this was the chess piece that we weren't looking on, and this is kind of cool to slide a hand in the show. We're so focused on Bilquis, and she's still on the board here, but we're having, here's someone that went the old god route in Laura, and we'll get to Shadow later, him going, can't help you, that's my pops, sorry. You open yourself up to being recruited, converted to any new religion, right?
Yeah, so I guess it opens it up that, Salim is just along for the ride, but I guess if Mr. World can offer help to find the Jinn, Salim would be like, okay, sure. And Laura is definitely the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
So, or at least someone she can use for now, kind of a thing.
Which is, if you're out there thinking about starting your own religion, make sure you're as inclusive and as helpful as possible, or else your flock will go somewhere else.
Yes. And yeah, they mentioned Shard again of like trying to reach so many people. So I'm also really curious of like, tell me more about this thing, maybe? I'm a little nervous. Yeah. And then, yes, back to Shadow with Laura in Lakeville. And Shadow reveals that he's my father. he is my father. And Laura's, oh, well, that does complicate things, but doesn't change her motive, doesn't change her intentions.
She took it a lot better than I thought it would. I thought it'd been a whole scene of being like, no, bull. And, no, it's true. But you're like, oh, like, that's crazy.
Well, she does say of all the things that are shocking, that definitely takes the cake kind of. So, yes, she was. Yeah. But she's so singular-minded and focused that she doesn't care. And she's like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah. Whoops.
And how'd you like that Marguerite, Laura, Shadow, awkward hallway encounter?
I had no idea that character was coming back. And I was like, why are they doing the whole previously on with that minor character? That'll never pay off. Oh, wait, it did. So, yeah, I mean, that raised the stakes. I'd be kind of a...
No, wait, first the one with Marguerite meeting the building manager, then her sister.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, right. Sorry. Went over.
I was like, I think I knew where you were going, but
yeah, for sure.
First with the potential girlfriend, because also Shadow goes, shove, get away from me. Don't be hugging me. The girl I like is walking in.
No, absolutely. I was confusing her with Shadow Black Moon, with Sam Black Crow, excuse me. Meeting the ex-wife, or my former wife, or my late wife.
I like late wife. It was like ex.
Yeah, whoops, I don't English good.
Yeah.
It was awkward but cool. It was a good transition to say, hey, look, Shadow's okay. Because, again, signals were everywhere, Kari. Why not? These lovers are happening. So even though Laura's on a mission, she doesn't have to feel like she is back to her purgatory episode, feeling like, oh, my gosh, I've caused all this strife. If the man that you felt you screwed over the most is happy.
He's doing well.
He's doing well. Yeah. Move on.
Well, not doing well. I like the town meeting. We also have that real quick of Shadow kind of talking to Chad. That's kind of a little sidebar here of like, hey, how are you doing? And Chad pointing out how there hasn't been crime in so long. So it's like, oh, I wonder what changed. Besides Shadow, I feel more was going on.
Yeah.
Then
Chad, though, falls on the sword. Like, they have a right to be angry. Like, oh, come on. Small as
it's like, okay, so dramatic. What did you think of that thing of, I think it's Henselman owns a lot of property around town. Shadow points that out with Marguerite. I felt like there's maybe something more there.
There's something always weird about Anne Marie. I mean, she's helpful, sure, and not in a misery kind of way, but like, every time there's the meeting, she's the one that got everyone settled down. Everyone listened to her. I've seen small towns have this. Usually it's like the family that runs a used car dealership. They have the most money and influence. And so that's not too bad, but that mixed with her personality, leading the search party, all that stuff is going, is this going to be the big bad of this city?
I wonder. Yeah, I think there might be more there for sure. Because we keep coming back to it. But also, that's the really fun scene of Shadow painting and shirtless. Marguerite comes in, is just enjoying the show, like,
I was like, stupid, sexy, sweaty Shadow. It's like still the middle of winter, mind you. Like,
well, he's hot. She said it's really warm in here. And
I know. I'm just like, really? I mean, come on. I think it was a trap. I think she fell into it.
Oh, he's doing it on purpose? He left the door open.
I'll just like pass this music up real high, sing off key. I know you, Shadow. Wink.
Yep. I like that she dug it, and I hope that it's like, come on. He's throwing the offer out there, essentially. And so we'll see.
Come to my place. Okay, Shadow.
Yes, invites her over. Oh, before that, too, he sees a vision of the tree in the painting. He sees a tree. Right. So I feel that's going to tie back to our missing person.
Yeah,
but how I'm a little bit bummed that Shadow hasn't done more power stuff. I feel we could be seeing more of that.
Do more power stuff.
Because we know he has abilities, and I don't feel he's really trying to harness them now.
It. So I think it's what one time we have right now. We try to focus his powers, and I guess you could say the whole world is crashing around him, or things are escalating around him. He's no need to, but yeah, you're right. If he really cares about this girl, I think he will after this episode. We'll get to it. I think he might be focusing a lot more next week.
It's like exercising. It's building a muscle. He needs to practice to be able to tap into that whenever he needs to. Yeah. Where is it? Oh, yes. So as you were saying, too, we can meet her sister. That Sam Black Crow is her sister. Whoa. Same dad. I'm like, okay. So then that was really interesting. Wait, it was same dad, different moms? I think.
Yes.
So that
same
was like,
mother.
I do like the
Yeah, I see you. No, I see you. I actually wrote in my notes like, when does anyone ever say it's my half sister, same dad, different mom, like in the same sentence? But just for us, just for our benefit, you know.
Well, if you are distinctly different than a sibling, it's an easy way to say, you have different parents. Also, it could be the we didn't grow up together indicator,
Oh,
because
okay,
like
yeah.
I have a half sibling and I would specify because they don't look like me at all. So it'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
like specify, oh, we have different dads, kind of
Yeah.
a thing, different fathers. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because he's like, wait a minute. Because then that would maybe also imply that Marguerite is God connected. I mean, she is
Oh.
semi-adjacent. So maybe that's also where it was we needed to know. Be like, well, no, not really. But
Yeah, I got you. We cool.
yeah.
We cool. Awkward
But
moments.
maybe it's a little weird unless, it's the specifying how they know each other.
Yeah, I wrote it
How
down.
they're
Like, I figure it's like the Law and Order thing. When you get the clue, just keep it to your memory. Like if someone goes, man, sure it's cold in here, then just
Yeah.
But it was an awkward moment, but it was smooth because Sam Becker was like, hey, come on, child, let's talk, let's have a good time, and afterwards they had a little chat. So the fact that she's been so cool the entirety they met, even the first time they met, they even mentioned that, is like, hey, she could be an ally, whatever Mike tends to need her for.
Yeah, I think Sam has a good sense of people and can tell that Shadow doesn't have malicious intent. But it is the don't mess with my sister, I will know, which I like the protective sister. I thought that
But
was
here's my
kind of
question then:
sweet.
does that mean
Yeah,
that Shadow and Sam are similar and they're kind of empathic?
they could be. She could have some other or Sam might only have the connection to people she's related to, or it is people they care about. So maybe because Shadow just seems to sense whatever. That's why he needs to work on those powers so he can tap into whatever and be aware of it.
Yeah.
Which tapping into, he gets to see those lights, which kind of appear out of nowhere, which is like, oh, but indirectly they lead him and he's seen the panty thief running away from the scene of a crime, and it is Derek. So one of the employees at the diner, which I'll be like, who?
Yeah.
We had it in the previously, we had that quick moment showing him, but I also was like, who?
Right. Derek, I can't believe you're doing this. Taking a whole trash bag full of unmentionables at once. Where are you going, bro?
Maybe there's more to that too. Like, what if it's like okay, in a weird idea, it's like he has to feed some monster. I don't know. It's because it is like, why do you need so much? I understand like 1, 2, because also, unless these people are just buying up again, you're going to run out of supply.
That's true. No, yeah, but yeah, good point. He was all about heading across town, across these fences, and got stuck and did the whole dramatic look back, which you won't do if you really are being chased.
Also, I would think you would have a mask up or something.
There's a joke there, but I won't say it. Who wears mask? I mean,
have underwear over his face as a mask. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, I guess it's that he doesn't feel he's going to get caught, so he doesn't care. I thought Shadow could have probably kept up better with him, but he was a bit far behind. Now, I really didn't want, and it didn't happen, so I'm like, please don't happen in the next episode. I was so waiting for him to pull the underwear out and someone to be like, Shadow, it's you. And then I'm like, please don't do that. Because that felt so corny. I would have rathered a shot. And then this is like, it's not really anybody's fault or whatever, but I felt let me pull the underwear all the way out of the bag for the audience to see, versus I would have rather him open it and the camera looks down into it.
Yeah. I felt like it was a situation on set, though. I agree with you. I think I'm speculating here. I felt like if someone had a bag of unmentionables and they opened the bag, I go, what is that? I really feel like there was some decision on the set being like, let's just pull it out for emphasis to establish. But you're right. It does seem very like...
Very cartoonish. Let me pull out the thing. And now cue the moment where someone walks up, sees him holding it, and goes, you did it. No, I didn't. I'm just happy to hold it. They just ran away.
Right, because if I did steal it, I'll go to an alleyway and pick them up one by one and look at them like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, or even pick the bag up and empty it. Like, that would have worked too.
Yeah.
Turn it over, empty it. Because also, you're reaching and touching stuff too, Shadow. So... I don't know if it's, how clean it is. So it's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It
It's
was just
funny
a
that
weird shot.
There's never any boxer brief thieves for a reason.
This is a fair point. No one's running off trying to grab some tidy whities and be like, yes, I've stolen them. Yeah, so that was just a little awkward, but I'm glad it didn't end in a cliche. Yeah. Someone spots him. So I'm just curious then if he will approach Derek privately and be like, hey, what's going on? Or if he's going to tell Chad and say, hey, I saw this weird thing today. Or even tell Marguerite, be like, hey, this is weird. Oh, that was the other thing. We learned that Marguerite's son, that was the other thing. Well, speaking of Marguerite, what was it? Sandy has left home and disappeared, essentially, because we did talk about a child missing with her. So I'm hoping they're okay, but it, like Sam says, it's very weird that Sandy hasn't replied at all.
Yeah, I hope Sandy's okay, but I love the town that has so many small mysteries. Hopefully it comes together soon, have these different tendrils, because I feel like it can be very easy to let things hang, and I'm scared that they will. But back to Derek, knowing Shadow and knowing what kind of person he is, he'll probably pull him aside and be like, what are you doing, man? Like, you got me chasing, touching other people's bras. What's up? But that's the kind of person Shadow is, to give people a chance to explain themselves. Perhaps maybe too much to a fault. There's a lot of times where Shadow should have done something, but he won't. But I don't see Shadow be like, yo, Chad, hey! Watch you be wrong next week, though.
I kind of I'm envisioning the scene of like Chad walking around looking over his shoulder and Shadow like sneaking up behind him and shoving him up against a wall and be like, what is going on, dude? Yeah. And I think that'd be explain it, you know. So we'll see.
We'll see. Lakeside's tripping.
Right? Is there anything else in the episode we didn't cover that you wanted to mention or touch upon?
Yeah, two things I thought was pretty cool was when Mr. Wednesday says wooing is work. And later on where Hank is like, man, this Odin guy is a total asshole, a colossal asshole. And I was like, it's him.
And then he later does go oh wait, you're Odin in this story.
He's like, oh.
Oh yeah, he's an asshole. And then Wednesday says everybody's a critic, and I was like,
it's like, wow. He's right. And my favorite's when Shadow gets all offended about the color choice. He's like, it's not millennial pink, it's salmon mist. You're like, who cares? Oh, this is pink.
Also, the fact that, he's painting. What does this mean he's staying? Because, generally apartments, when you paint it, you have to be there at least a few years to get your deposit back for anybody who wants to paint or something. Depends on the building. But, it's a interesting color choice.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Also, I couldn't tell. Say it again.
I'm not sure if it means anything to him or significance.
I'm just curious, too, if it's like if he's doing the whole apartment, he's doing an accent wall, because maybe if an accent wall, that might work. But I was like, interesting choice there.
Interior design.
I do like that Laura says it looks like a witness protection apartment.
That totally does. Oh, she
but, it kind of is, because Wednesday set it up for him and then, like, here, go hide out there. So, maybe kind of idea.
Why not make your house a home? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Awesome. That was the other things, right? You said you got It was very funny. I did like Wednesday being called out. Oh, this Odin guy's an asshole.
He's like, hey.
Hank's a fun character. I hope we see a little bit more of Hank. Hank's been very entertaining.
Yeah, totally.
He has a very friendly vibe about him, even though we don't really know this character much. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Yes. Well, let's get to it. Boom. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Let us know your comments down below, what you thought on the episode and any of the topics we covered along the way. Flobo, there we go. Where can people find you online? And if you have any other projects or things you want to promote.
Do I? You can follow me at Flobo Boyce right there. I listen to my co-host Kari, and I re-downloaded TikTok. I don't know what to put there. So hit me up on TikTok at Flobo Boyce and hit me up and say, do this, do it, that, dance to this. That'd be pretty fun. Otherwise, know more about the shows I'm working on at newamsterdam.com. That's KNEW Amsterdam.com.
Nice. Yay. Glad you got back on TikTok. I know I saw some videos on there. I'm like, yay. Yes, go tell them to do stuff on there.
I don't know what I'm doing.
But that's okay. It's a journey and an exploration. Yes. And y'all can find me online at, there it is, Kari D. Lane on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. and have all kinds of different content on there as well here on YouTube. So thank you for being here. Click the thumbs up, subscribe button. And again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. See ya.